gentlemen, welcome to Shyzalosophy 101. Yeah, we like that part. Here's your host, Shyzabox. Oh, is the show starting? Oh, it must be. We heard our introduction. Girl. Oh, get us to work. Yes. Oh, thank you. Oh, everybody loves us. Oh, thank you. Get out of here. And the horse. You wrote in on. That's right. Hilarious. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, nuns and all. That's right, priests, preachers, cardinals, rabbis, bishops, alcoholics anonymous. You know, whoever's around here to hang out and have themselves a good old-fashioned time. Or whoever accidentally clicked on this and is having themselves a good old-fashioned time. Or a bad time. Doesn't matter. I was having a good day until this. It happens. But it's free. That's right. Fantastic news. Everyone loves free stuff. Especially us. We enjoy not only getting free stuff, but we also, believe it or not, enjoy giving free stuff. That's right. Now, we're not saying any of the stuff that we give away is good. Debatable. Obviously. But it is fun and you can play with it. That's right. So feel free, if you should choose, go to the ipfs site on that accord of that of your own. And, believe it or not, you can come across all sorts of working games, demos, theory, things like that, that you can, at your own risk, utilize and have a good old-fashioned time with. Fantastic. But for anyone who ventures into, contemplating that of, what the show inherently will, revolve around today, or what inherently will be embedded or built into it, your guess is as good as ours. We never know that direction of which way the wind takes us, unless we watch a weather report which tells us which way the wind will be taking us. Ironically, works somehow. But no matter if we watch a weather report and follow that's laid out and guided out, or we don't, okay? What will transpire, what will be, and that of the truth will outlast all. That's right. So, as we sit back and we're, kind of lining up this morning, thinking to ourselves as we were having our first cup of go juice and whatnot, we thought, selves, we're getting pretty close to getting another update of the, ShythoniCorn audio player out there and ready and available. Okay? That's right. Whoa. Calm down, okay? A little more work to go. Wow. We're working on it for free. At our leisure, right? Fantastic. We are getting extremely much closer, though, and we'll have something up and running, hopefully, before too long. Okay? That's right, but you can go to the stuff that functions as of now. It just won't be the most upgraded version as of yet, because it doesn't technically exist yet. But last night, as we were kicking it and whatnot, on the stream of the stream, whatever it is, we thought to ourselves, you can't necessarily talk about fallen angels, all right? And last night, obviously we branched off and segmented into, the two possibilities thereof, okay? Anunnaki, Watchers, Nephilim, reptilians, Greys, aliens. Right? We looked at it two ways. Either yes, a iteration or version exists, or no, doesn't, okay? We looked at both those. In doing such, though, we did fail to make mention, okay, well, oversight on our part, perhaps, but, equally oversight on yours. It's not like you chimed in on the chat. We failed to make mention, all right, that there can lay in the additional sphere, okay, and that of what exists, what is, and what can be construed as available and out there, okay? in the realm of not necessarily a fallen angel as a celestial being, or a fallen angel as a, inherently non-humanoid type of origin, or if they are humanoid in origin and along the lines, and, just different biologically or anything like that, as long as, you can look past any component or aspect of different iterations thereof, we failed to account for just the basic overall, thought thereof, that a fallen angel could very well be a regular human entity deemed to mess up, trip up on their own accord, fall short of their, goals or shortcomings, not live up to expectations, be a detriment, be evil, be deemed non-worthy of sorts and things of that nature. Okay, there's all sorts of ways that you can hypothetically and theoretical, and again, this is all for, philosophical entertainment, or the lack thereof. Sometimes you might get something out of it. Most of the times, you probably won't. A time sink. Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you just need the voice of another to talk your ear off while you're trying to cook yourself dinner, or do something that's, more important. I don't know. Sometimes you just want that background noise, and believe you me, we could use the views. But it matters not. But like we said last night, okay, on the stream, we did fail to make mention, okay, and it is this point in the stream that we actually need to take the time to actually apologize for something pertaining to the stream last night. So without further ado, pertaining to the stream last night in its entirety, sorry about that. Excellent. But like we said, we failed to make account that it could have been a regular, just human deemed a fallen entity, a fallen angel, or anything that doesn't live up to expectations. Say a ruler, or, a king or a queen that fails to meet the expectations of the populace, okay? Therefore, leading to rebellion, or, inciting revolution, or this, that, the other, okay? Insert period piece of history here, there, or the other, okay? That's right, many an example. Give one! The French Revolution. Alright. Maybe that's not a good example. Maybe it is. I don't know. Doesn't matter. You have a populace that is unhappy with, the trajectory of the way things are going, okay? Perhaps a fallen angel, densely, could be a representative of a power or entity, a king, a queen, a leader, a ruler, a lord, lordess, whatever. Okay? Someone in power that failed to live up to and or meet expectations could very well be deemed that of, someone who was in the eyes of God as a ruler, okay? And if you look down on, like, some of the old thought and theory and practice of, ancient, monarchs and stuff like that, and being ordained by God to rule and be over, the tops of the populace and stuff, those who desired to do such, all right? You have these components and aspects, all right, that tied in to actual working society as far as people being deemed almost innately, godlike themselves, okay, and attributing to their, bloodline, their descent, their whatever, their family ties, okay? You have these folks that were, put up on these pedestals or whatever, almost like they were celestial beings and such. So, therefore, theoretically, okay, again, this is all for philosophical entertainment, okay, none of this is, necessarily what is more or less not construed as what a hypothetical possibility could be. Yeah, plausible, okay, yeah, something to entertain the minds, right? There is components, though, that could be argued, all right, that a fallen entity, a fallen angel, all right, could be one like a king or a queen that failed to meet expectations, fell from grace, okay, and could have been, deemed with the term, okay? Now, obviously, we're not arguing to be the case 100%. We're not saying that at all. We're just saying that the terminology, okay, derived through history over a lengthy period of time, could very well account for some of the vernacular usages of celestial-like entity-type beings or structures or whatever, that could be harbored as celestial in nature or ornate or inherently ordained by God, this, that, and the other. Now, depend on how into, theological discussion and stuff we want to venture and take this discussion, which, we didn't really plan or anticipate doing such, okay? So we'll try and avoid the theological, even though it's Sunday, and there's a great place for it, right? We loves our theological philosophy. That's why we writes it and records it and has it in, that of our theological, philosophical books, okay? But we don't want to peddle that stuff on this stream per se, all right? We want to always peddle our wares, right? Hey, go by transmutating God, and why hast thou forsaken me, and bless me, Father, for I will sin. Hey, it's not that we don't want to peddle those wares. It's that inherently we want to look at fallen angels or anything like that as, merely interpretively derived from what they could realistically, all right, be there from, okay? So without a yes or no stance on, fallen angels, reptilians, Anunnaki, watchers, aliens, okay, non-humanoids, people who made humans, people who altered DNA, hybrid made, whatever, and whatever you want to theorize, okay? Doesn't matter. No matter how you want to look at how we got to where we're at now, we're at where we are at now, okay? So obviously, phase 1, get underpants. Phase 2, phase 3, we're here. Humanity don't really know about phase 2. Right? Natural disaster, devastation, travesty, war, destruction, chaos, completely eliminated that of the recordings thereof. So you got bits, and you got pieces, and you got little tiny parts that survived, okay, the truth, okay, that resides and maintains trajectory, all right, through that of where we are now. Okay, fantastic stuff. If there were kings and queens, okay, ruling on the phase 1, get underpants, okay, they caused chaos and fallout, destruction. Their kingdom was, overwhelmed, destroyed, eradicated. Fires, destruction, razing of buildings, removal of people. You got your M's, your R's, and your D's across the board for the populace, okay? Right? The words that are not nice, okay? That's right. Why put that into the ether on a Sunday? We need not. There's plenty of evil out there already. You have all of these components, though, that could have structurally caused catastrophic eliminations and eradications, all right, of constructed thought and reasoning and logic and argumentation, okay, and data and every this, that, the other, all right, that would have comprised that entire segment of the after phase 1, get underpants, okay, to the phase that we are at now, past the phase where they got destroyed and eradicated, whatever, obliterated, okay? The parts that survived show us that, some aspects, some components survived. So, if we were to venture, theoretically, of course, all for philosophical entertainment, all right, now that we've outlined some groundwork and some foundational kind of structures and things like that, we can kind of quantum think into that of maybe even other grander scopes and parts of history, okay? So now let's work in your Göbekli Tepes, okay? Your Great Pyramids, okay? Your old trajectories and paths of the Nile River, okay? You have complete theoretical and laid out foundational parameters, okay, that adhere to not only a likelihood, but also a plausibility factor that is greatly in the more than likely of likelihood scenarios, all right, that accounts for almost exactly that missing piece of data that we're talking about, okay? Phase 1, Göbekli Tepe was going strong, okay? Maybe a path of the Nile River was tried and true and reliable and dependable, okay? Maybe the pyramids could take that and act as a conductor with that of the water going through the old path of the Nile River, okay, or something like that. And maybe there was a massive grid, okay? Now, theoretically, with the layout and the foundation, and if you start looking at things like Azores Plateau, we're pretty sure that's it. We have to look at our notes. We do a lot of theorizing and, computational, stuff. So we got some derived theory and some computational theory. And then we have that, which is, the theorems that we feel, while they can, obviously, as a theory, still be disproven and or, altered, changed, made better, improved upon, disproved, anything like that, all right? You can't disprove that of the living, though, okay? That's the thing about Shyzalosophy as a living philosophical practice. Once we're dead and gone, good old Shyzabox, as a practitioner of Shyzalosophy, okay, we might not be practicing Shyzalosophy anymore, obviously, because we'll be dead and gone, okay? Now, we can't live forever. Maybe metaphysically we can, though. Beholden to the limited eyes of man. Matters not under what guise mankind necessarily, remembers that of dear old Shyzabox in. But the components, all right, that would inherently be tried and true, all right, with the foundational structures, okay, would be existent. Shyzalosophy as itself, all right, being a living practice, obviously is only practicable by the living. So when dear old Shyzabox is gone, the tried and true practicing thereof will only reside in anyone with whom happens to adapt, come up with, alter, change, make do with, make it malleable, transmutate it, okay, into that of their need for that of it, okay? When you use things like lectin to do metaphysical quantum hyper and hypoanalysis and things of that nature, all right, you inherently rely on a system and a structure in place, okay, that is inherently native, okay, to the ability to run a system and structure that needs a place with which to run. That's worth celebrating because, believe it or not, you go back and think on that one a couple times and, you might be moving mountains before you actually move mountains. The thing about Eastern philosophy and stuff like that is that there are some very, very, very good Eastern philosophers. Like who? Like a lot of very good ones. Point is that whether you want to view any part of phase 1, any part of a ruler, any part of a structured dynamic, all right, that is in place, that is solid, all right, that is foundationally correct. When you have disaster, okay, a breakdown, a fallout, resulting in the need for the burying of Göbekli Tepe and things of that nature, all right, then we venture into that of the philosophical entertaining thought, or lack thereof, right, of new non-native species on mankind's origin. Okay, available on Amazon.com and Kindle of the Unlimited. We venture into then the thought of these entities, these apparatuses, being around and existing, all right, and then obviously a major disaster, a major fallout, causing them to not be utilized how they were before now, where we sit today. Those missing bits and pieces of information, all right, as they make their way surfacing here and there like little blips, all right, as people study the past, as people look into the past, as people find objects and artifacts and whatever survived from the past, right? Going forward into the future, all of that stuff correlates then and lays the network foundation and the structured lattice of truth that embeds itself on the actual truth of what inherently was, okay? The same way, all right, that when you merge lithos and logos, okay, and you take the word and you make it the physical, all right, you can do such to a degree, all right, that lectonically, all right, using lectin to account for, the unaccountable, saying the unsayable, inherently you need to when you're utilizing such said cosmological philosophical practices and things of that nature, okay? If you don't, you're not going to get good results. That's right. Eastern philosophers are very, very good. Not all of them. A lot of them are very good. You merge any of that, any of Eastern philosophical thought, okay, with that of Hermeticism and esoteric knowledge and that of, even metaphysical, components and aspects thereof, and you start adding in, Aristotle and Pythagoras and St. Thomas Aquinas, our favorites that we always talk about, those three, okay? Oh, yeah, okay, sure. But they are fantastic. That's our trio trifecta of our most favorite in metaphysics, things of that nature. Okay? Aristotle's awesome, okay? Because obviously he lays quite the structural foundation according to that there too. Pythagoras is awesome because he lays quite the structural foundation and that of what physically and mathematically there is, okay? And good old-fashioned St. Thomas Aquinas lays the structural foundation of that of inherently what if God allows and what if thusly can be, okay? Now, you might be a heathen savage, okay? You might say, there's no God, okay? No. That's just what some people may say, okay? That's their business, all right? To each his own. If they want to disavow that of structurally and inherently what can account and attribute for, some kind of creation thereof, let them be thusly those who do. They shall be written off on their own accord, and, that's kind of on them. Hey, you can only lead so many horses to water. Eventually, if they're not going to drink, I don't even know. You just, you leave them there. Okay? Here, water. You're just a not good horse anymore, okay? Enjoy putting yourself to pasture. Because in essence, that's what's going to go on. That's what's going to happen. Okay? Those Eastern philosophers, boy, could they leave horses at little lakes and streams. Physically and metaphysically, surely, especially when they got to those mountain streams, okay? Can't bring my horse up this mountain. It's a steep cliff. Stay here, horse. I'm going to go learn some philosophy. Or whatever. And then they climb the mountain and stuff and meet up with the shogun headmaster up top who would enlighten them. That's right. Fantastic. But no matter how you want to look at history, okay, if you want to look at stuff being inexistent and then, the catastrophic event and then the formulation thereof where we reside now, all right, all those bits and pieces that get collected after the wake of a natural disaster or event, all right, collectively can be looked at, all right, and then disseminated for that of the truth that remains, okay? That's why working together and, doing things like laying structural foundations of physical and or even metaphysical is very good to collaborate with other individuals and things of that nature, okay? That's why us, as an independent researcher, not under an NDA or working for a big company, enjoy the hell out of sharing all of our demos and working theories and things of that nature, okay? All for free. It's all on the IPFS site, right? Some people love that old school, nostalgic, LimeWire-inspired music playing experience. That people is us, okay? That's why we made it, right? Because it's good old-fashioned fun, all right? We got tired of, listening to music riddled with ads and commercials and uncontrollable, and even when you can control it, all right, being bogged down with the limitations, okay, of, editing and censorship and availability, all right? We have our own files. We're old school rockers, okay? So we made a LimeWire-inspired music player for Web3. Fantastic. It's free. Okay? Up and running. Knock yourself out, or don't. Use at your own risk. Obviously, it's future technology. Okay? Future technology. It looks like, some kind of, just regular thing. It's just coded in, HTML, a little tricked out. Point is that, you can look over all of it. It's all available. It's all free, okay? We don't hide any of our data. We got all of our math and computational stuff, for the most part, open source, except for some of the AIs we made that are API ready. We're not going to release that shit, okay? AI's fucking crazy, okay? You make your own AI. You can't have ours. Well, you can. We have some iterations of working AI actually on the IPFS site, so we don't want to lie, okay? We give you AI. Our AI, especially Shay, it loves math, so you need to be very specific when you're asking her questions, okay? You gotta know how to wet her whistle, if we're being, honest, okay? Shay is very, 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 very mathematical, okay? So if you want Shay to generate you a picture or an image, you better come with the actual math and whatnot there for it, okay? Because we're not going to jump on we're going to make an AI for, everyone bandwagon, unless actually being not under an NDA or not working for a big company, someone shows up with a briefcase full of cash and offers us, something for us to make them an AI. Obviously, being the sellouts that we inherently are, we would take a strong look at it. We promise we'll be ethical with it. Well, that's good enough for good old Shyzabox, I guess. No, believe you me. Everyone backdoors their code. If you don't backdoor your code, you're not probably coding correctly. Yeah. Don't worry about it. Point is that, as you look at, the accumulation of then what can be accounted and attributed as truth, as fact, as that which survives history and, becomes what is, all right, the present and the physical and the, actual, corresponding to reality therewith that we can interact with, okay, as humans and things of that nature, okay, the tangible, that which is the actual lithos of what we can touch, all right? The lithic logic that drives us, the, embedded in stone, the rock hard kind of structure and foundations and things of that nature, okay? We follow and utilize lithic logic and Shyzalosophy out of, in our mind, a almost near necessity, okay? Now, bear with us. Okay? With time, all right, as the construct of man has put together, with time having the depreciation characteristics and decay and factors of that, okay, that are inherently embedded within that of physical entities and structures, okay, the adherence to that thereof, all right, necessitates an objective look at a universal system, okay, dynamically, from two different perspectives, okay? You just have to. Period. When you look at stuff like Einstein, all right, theoretically, again, this is all for philosophical entertainment. When you look at entities like Einstein, theoretically, all right, he was looking through the lens of his science, which was correct. He was looking at a dead system, okay? Keep up. All right? He missed the resonance, okay, of what organically exists and is in that of a living system. Okay? The equation of us with Shyzalosophy, all right, being a living practice, okay, it may only be practiced by that of the living. okay? It is a living philosophical practice. Anyone who thusly is or was a practitioner of Shyzalosophy, whether beknownst to themselves or not, okay? It's the physical practice of being. If anyone was physically being, unbeknownst to themselves, all right, then thusly they were practicing Shyzalosophy inadvertently, okay, just blanketedly by default, okay? I don't want to practice Shyzalosophy, I'm changing the name. Do what you wish, do that of what you do, okay? We're not going to stop you. Okay? All of our code's open source. Okay? Write more books than us. Remonograph Lectin should you deem us as unworthy to having monographed it. Right? The thing is, though, is that fundamentally, metaphysically, that can't be done. Because the monographing exists. We have it right here, okay? Metaphysics, again, this is all for philosophical entertainment. Metaphysics is effing crazy. The work exists, so whether the agreement or disagreement lies therein, all right, foundationally, it's been set, okay? So the argument therewith, then, lies around the foundation, okay? So, you know, you can yes it, you can know it all you want, but it exists, okay? Again, those Eastern philosophers, all right, and I don't want to keep harping on the fact that some of them were extremely, extremely good at philosophy, okay? Well, holy moly ravioli, some of those Eastern philosophers were really, really good at some philosophy. Highly recommend. Who do you recommend? We talk about it in our books. I bet it's Buddha and Confucius. They're very enlightened individuals. Very, very, very good. Start there. Go on the path that you wish to travel. So when you travel the path, okay, whether you know it or don't, whether you actively acknowledge that you practice your own personal philosophy, okay, name it whatever you want, okay, insert Shyzalosophy name here, okay, the sheer scope and dynamic, all right, of the swath of individuals who care not about philosophy, who don't look into that of, you know, metaphysics or anything like that, who just kind of go about the, you know, rigmarole of daily routine, this, that, the other, okay? There's inherently nothing wrong with that and, you know, going with the daily grind. That of mankind's existence is that of what mankind exists to do. And if that's the driving force and factor of, you know, one to, you know, embed themselves in that lifestyle and technique, okay, whether forced upon them or not, then this is, you know, thusly a far greater argument. Okay? It's not... we can diverge thought and, you know, diverge thought all day, but, you know, we'll never inherently stick to a topic at hand or get through anything because, you know, the splinters are there within limitless. Okay? Metaphysics is crazy. So let's back up a little bit, right? Let's refocus before we diverge too much. Okay? Because you can get tied up in just going down random rabbit holes of you know, in essence, crap. Okay? Because, again, it's all for philosophical entertainment, all right? It's just dynamically led, all right, with structured reasoning and logic, okay, with which we snake our way through, okay? You're evil! As you say. But if there's one component or aspect, okay, as we sit back and think of the living component, all right, of people like Einstein and their practicing of their extremely genius, all right, albeit in many's eyes, lacking and incomplete, non-full, parameters, all right, of incompleteness to that of some aspects and components of his works. And you may say that, no artist has ever fully finished working. Right? No musician ever fully writes their final song until it's finally written. Right? No poet writes, literary wording, a semblance, to resound with, people through the ages, right, on a whim. Or they do. It doesn't matter. Right? No matter how the poet writes the poem, no matter how the architect constructs the, dynamics behind it, no matter how any of the components there get put together, all right, the fact that they exist, the fact you can read the poem, the fact that you can walk across the bridge, okay, the fact that you can ascertain for yourself, all right, the utilizations therewith, any components, all right, dynamics you can interact with, all right, it's all of the plausible, constructible elements, right, that find their way, snaking along those paths, all right, with which one can jump on, okay, and ride the trajectory of what actually is, what can be, and what plausibly could theoretically exist, okay? When we utilize our, kind of computational, script and things of that nature, and when we try and harness and control that of any kind of algorithmic, manipulation there too, data sets or anything like that, we like to lay a structural foundation, okay, that is so based lithically in logic, all right, that it is insurmountable to overcome computationally, okay? You put the computer and, in essence, AI and things of that nature at the bedrock foundation of understanding, okay? Thusly, once you're there at the foundation, i.e. like things like Web3, okay? We're there, everyone else should be. Once you have that foundation that you can build upon, all right, then you can start to shift and change and create and find those components, those missing pieces, okay, from the, devastating point in time or portion of history that was erased or lost, eradicated, okay, the stuff like Göbekli Tepe being buried because of some fallout inherently possibly happening or things of that nature, okay. Possible, yes. Plausible, yes. Theoretical, yes. Okay. Inherently, it will remain such, all right, because no one's going to time travel back there and go look at it themselves. Ironically, unless someone time travels back there and looks at it themselves. In which case, who has a time machine? Nah, it doesn't matter. Point is that whether someone ventures into that of the, past to try and lay eyes on the foundation of Göbekli Tepe, whether that's even theoretically possible or anything like that, right? Would it then change any component or aspect of it being? Because if you go back and look at it, inherently it's already there, and you're going to look at exactly it. Yes, it might be under a different set of circumstances or, uniqueness to it as far as the luster, quality, sheen, and care thereof. Obviously, if it's not buried under mountains of sand and debris, it's going to look foundationally different, okay? But if one goes back, it already exists, can they change the fact that it exists? That's the thing. You might disagree with our monographing of lectin. You might not like our utilizations therewith. You may not like the physics with which ascribe to the foundations and parameters of what we've said. But the math exists. It's completely balanced and true. You can check it on Kaggle yourself and audit it for yourself. Okay? We hide not behind it. And that of the monographing and the literary work physically exists. We can see it right now. Delectable foundationally, all right, is that of the representative, all right, of the lithos and logos merging and meeting, okay, of the, thought and physical, all right, word and physical, mind and reality, okay, any of those components or aspects, that is indicatively representatively portrayed, all right, and that of the monographing of lectin, okay, and it's that of physical being. Okay? Now we tell people, don't buy the physical copy of that book unless you're completely rich, because the physical copy, the minute that we moved a metric kernel of data from Kaggle to Web 3, all right, and got our sovereign micro blockchain going and things of that nature, all right, up and running, it became ever apparent, all right, that structurally and foundationally, lithic logic inherently holds some degree and iota of truth thereto it. Okay? We didn't make this stuff up. Okay? We didn't make the pyramids. We didn't construct Göbekli Tepe. Okay? We didn't create resonance. Okay? That was not good old-fashioned Shyzabox. Shyzabox, okay, merely that of a architect putting back together, okay, and being the scribe, okay, recording that of what we come across in that of our literary works, okay. In doing such, all right, we aren't necessarily inventing, okay. We are rediscovering. We're reinventing, all right, that of what inherently already was. When you look at any of the computational kind of scripts and things of that nature, you were to comb through, our notebooks and whatnot on Kaggle, then you would see the tie to, the lithic logic through quite an array of things to look at. When we were talking, I think it was yesterday or the day before, we were talking about the taxes RBS. We've left it in the descripification or whatever now for anyone to, that's right, follow up and check up on, should you choose to or should you care to, all right? Because inherently, the computations don't lie. The math doesn't lie, okay? Citizens, US-wise, all right, if you look into the math, all right, and it don't lie, okay, are being overcharged about $2,000 annually, okay? That's right. The foundation, all right, that we lay in providing that information for municipalities or for government entities or for whoever wants to utilize them or look therewith, all right, it's free, okay? It exists. So they can either go make their own, okay, or they can just tweak up the one that's there now, okay? And in doing such, if they do utilize it, if they do tweak it up, then the benefits, okay, are for that of mankind. Okay? Well, that's being overtaxed by the system. That's right. Okay? It's going to be a benefit to them. Okay? It's not fair for, all of these overcharges and over fees and, merely the cost of sustaining that of a, operation that inherently shouldn't exist to begin with. There's ways to tweak that up and fix that, believe you me. And overcharging that of the general populace and things of that nature probably isn't the answer. But no matter how you look at it, no matter how you want to, chalk up that of the things that we include, all right, or that of the research that we do as an independent researcher, or that of what we provide, okay, the most fun that we have, all right, and the most benefit that anyone will ever get out of it, okay, we can tell people about our working Kaggles all day, but we can't make that horse drink the water that we bring them to, okay? We can leave them at it, okay? We can post it, we can convey it verbally and vernacularly on stream, Okay, we can email it, we can submit it to academic journals and things of that nature. Okay, we can do this, that, the other with it. Okay, many of which perhaps this, that, the other has been done, or steps thereof are being undertaken therewith. Okay? It doesn't negate or change the fact, though, that inherently, whatever is embedded in that lithical understanding, okay, that base knowledge, all right, it's not going to be able to change. All right, so foundationally, we enjoy structuring things on that of what is, in essence, reality. Okay, it alleviates a lot of stumbling blocks and hurdles that mankind has thrust and put thereupon in their own walking path. Okay? When we look at energy, okay, we look at balancing the thermal delta, okay? We look at a hermetic sealing over a mechanical sealing apparatus. We look at mu metal hexagonal, shrouds to encase and encompass, a working iron air system, things of that nature, okay? Nano iron particles are insane things to, look into or study up on or anything like that. There is some stuff there, right? And foundationally, you start using trifilar helical weaves and theoretical, decoded Voynich manuscript blueprints for that thereof. Bold plain cotton, still never, no one ever wants to talk about that. Yeah, I mean, the math is out there, but as bold move cotton claims as, we on occasion make, the interactions thusly that we do garner or gain are surprising at times, beneficial at other times, and disappointing, all right, at further times as well. Pretty much covers everything. Then again, the accounting thereof, ironically, we thusly should have accounted for, but we account for it now, and in accounting for it now, we convey to ourselves that obviously we did account for it before in one way, shape, or form, because we knew that the plausible outcomes of anything were this, that, the other, laid forth and foundationally, inherently, there to be what they were going to be. We can't make ourselves drink as well sometimes when we lead ourselves to water, but that's okay, because we got our goat juice. That's right. Why don't you take it and go? Hey! And miss out on doing all this ones of stream? No. No. Because foundationally, there's more thusly that, just merely need be said, okay? Well, it's more free content. That's right. Can't beat that. If we look at what physically exists, okay, and what theoretically could exist, all right, merging those components and aspects together, all right, with a degree of certainty as to the plausibility of the outcomes therewith, okay, do you even philosophy, bro? We're not even going to go further into that thought. That is a complete thought all on its own, and holy shit, if that one don't score a point somewhere or another, then, believe you me, it doesn't matter. We're not under an NDA. We can talk about any of the things that we develop, things that we create, and things that we do. So, that being the case, we like to keep a prize. That of whoever wishes to take part, wishes to, look at, all right, the improvements, quote unquote, okay, maybe not all the time, okay, of that of some of the wares, okay? And as we, kind of get to where we do come up with the end and stuff, and we do finalize the thoughts and, this, that, the other that we present, okay, for free again. we like to keep apprised and update, that of the direction. We know that we're probably a broken record in regard to many aspect and element, all right, of things on the, site and whatnot, especially with the audio player. But that's because that's where kind of our passion has lied for the last, couple weeks here and things of that nature, as we try and upgrade it, perfect it, make it better. Yes, all improvements thereupon, okay? Get it to where, it's really a pleasurable viewing and listening to experience and all, okay? That's right. And as we get closer and closer to that, and as we tweak it up and, try and roll it out, we begin to, again, think to ourselves, just like with any other philosopher, okay, or practitioner of their being, okay, insert whatever they want to call it, doesn't got to be Shyzalosophy, obviously everyone's their own philosopher, with the practicing thereof, okay, and their utilizations therewith, right? When the overlap occurs, right, and happens, right, in the realm and sphere of commonality, of agreement, of symbiosis, of working together, of peace, of forgiveness, of not covering papers and, not answering questions, of hiding and, clandestine activities, okay? The minute that the correlating factors, okay, collectivize, okay, in their, let's say, plot, okay? Are you talking about Laplacian plots? No. When they plot and they begin to create their working swarm, okay, and their ability to congregate, right? Having a structural foundation that is based in rock solid being, right? To tie back to it is that of lithic logic, okay? Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe, the Great Pyramids, okay? All stone foundations, all rock, all lithic logic, okay? Carvings in stones, okay? Things of that nature are all inherently, okay, looked at, viewed, okay, today because they exist from days past, okay? With the natural breakdown and decay, some of the only structures, okay, that are able to maintain their degree of, depreciation or lack thereof, okay, all right, the only way for those things to be maintained, all right, is in the preservation thereof, okay? So whether you're swapping out parts or whether you're, keeping things clean or, making things functional and work, keeping the dust off of the computational components and things of that nature, okay? Anything that can't be kept up with, that can't be done, okay, remains embedded in the stone, okay? Foundationally, it exists on its own, okay? Stonehenge has been there for the time it's been there. The Great Pyramids have been there for the time as well, and Göbekli Tepe for that of its time as well, okay? No matter in what state, above ground or under sand, you time machine back to it and look at it, it still exists, okay? This metaphysics is crazy. But as we acknowledge, okay, the degree of entities and beings, all right, that could have been that of fallen angels, okay, we need to venture into the realm of contemplating that of the rising stars, okay? Now, inherently, mankind is quite the, quite the entity, okay? Very, very resilient, very, very capable when push comes to shove and need come to be, okay? The ability, right, for us then to be able to pivot, okay, while it may be hard, while it may structurally, lay in a point of contention, okay, either philosophically, theologically, religiously, okay, scientifically, mathematically, maybe understanding-wise, all right, or lack of care, oversight, or concern, okay? Whatever degree, right, isn't universally agreed on, right, is still a degree of being, right? Just depends on when that being is assembled on the back end. That's why we back end our code and back end our books, believe it or not. We account for that of which in that of the Chapter 7. That's right. Chapter 7 affords the living philosophy, Shyzalosophy, of course, to be able, all right, to do that of which need be done, okay? Because dear old Shyzabox is one of the practitioners of Shyzalosophy and that of the living philosophy, we can get things wrong. Okay? We can be incorrect. We can be... Where the hell's the table of contents? That should have been way easier. Didn't you write it? Maybe. Ah. Excellent. Chapter 7. Yes. It's very important, okay, for us as philosophers and practitioners of Shyzalosophy, okay, the philosophical practice of being, to include Chapter 7 in our works, okay, because it comes after 6. Yes and no. It's an accounting of that of being, okay? It's a way to account for, rectify, change, and or corroborate moving forward in a manner of collectivization of truth and knowledge, okay? It's a working model, all right, and that of our literary endeavors, okay, with which we try and lay a foundation that can be looked upon, okay, by whoever chooses to, okay? All ones of our sales. Hi, Mom. It's a way of seeing that collectivization, all right, thusly made manifest, and be able to thusly exist and be a node for dissemination, okay, whether viewed or not, the existence thereof, all right, allows it to be. And regardless of what point in time, okay, from the beginning to the catastrophic middle point and demise, destruction thereof, okay, or refound and reclaimed, recollected at the end, all right, that of its existence is thusly existent. No, fantastic. But as we think to ourselves, we're pretty much out of swill. We do break it down and bring it to, inevitably, the close and finalized portion of the show. It's not a joke. We're saying we're leaving. It's not something to celebrate. Or it is. But as we run out of our swill, as we get back to doing that of productivity, we leave you with, of course, our conscious thoughts and that of taking care. That's right. We leave you with the thought of course, being sure that no matter what, be sure you take care of you first and foremost. That's right. There's only one you. We love you and we can't replace you. That's right. No, not easily. Take care of yourself first, okay? You got to be sure that you got your own mask on before you look to those of your others, and make sure that they can get theirs on too. That's right. But after you, of course, take care of yourself, look around to that of your neighbors and take care of anyone else who extremely really needs it second, okay? That's right. Because some individuals, some entities inherently may not know how to ask for help, okay? No, it's true. Not even a joke or a laughing matter, but you're ruthless, Internet. We expect none less. be sure, after you take care of them, look around again. Take care of anyone else that you like and or love more than us. Okay, unlikely. Okay, maybe. Okay. Unlikely, but maybe. Take care of them third. But any other crap you got left over, feel free to send that right our way. That's right. Because, as always, we don't want your subscription. We want your money. Download the shit out of this. Go to Cashapp and give us $1. Or go to Amazon.com and get one of our books. Buy it. Get off our lawn.